With San Francisco wrapping up their second padded training camp practice, it was obvious the first day took its toll as they were without their first round pick Mykel Williams, Ricky Pearsall, Jordan James, and Jauan Jennings missed his second straight practice. But it wasn't all negative news, as we also saw players like CJ West and D Winters continue to dominate. So in this video, I want to break down every single position group on San Francisco's roster that stood out during this training camp period, starting out with the quarterbacks. For Purdy, without players like Jauan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall, he had a pretty up and down day. To start out, for instance, he rolled out of the pocket, and rather than throwing it away with everyone covered, he tries to force a throw, and Luke Gifford, the linebacker, picked him off. Shortly after though, Purdy probably made one of his better throws of camp, finding Jordan Watkins for a 50-yard touchdown. On this play, he was lined up against Darrell Luter Jr., burned him pretty quickly, and with Jason Pinnock as the lone safety, Purdy could tell Jordan Watkins had to step on him, threw it up, and led him perfectly. Purdy didn't stop there though, also finding Demarcus Robinson later, layering it over defenders, and he even found Russell Gage for a touchdown, who's really been impressive this entire training camp. Now moving into San Francisco's backup in Mac Jones, today he was a little bit off and finished practice by throwing a pick six to Trey Avery. Jumping into San Francisco's wide receivers, probably the biggest storyline here has been injuries. I mean, first, Jauan Jennings has missed the first 2 days of padded training camp practice so far, and he's due a massive contract. On top of that, San Francisco's standout second-year player, Ricky Pearsall, missed today. Luckily for San Francisco, for Ricky Pearsall, it isn't an injury, but more so they're trying to be cautious, and this was his scheduled rest day. With those injuries out of the way, San Francisco's rookie wide receiver Jordan Watkins continues to impress this offseason. His 4.37 speed was able to get behind the defense, and he caught a 50-yard plus touchdown from Brock Purdy today. On the play, Darrell Luter Jr. was in coverage, as well as the safety Jason Pinnock, but Watkins showed what 4.37 speed could do and outran both of them, and with Purdy putting it up, Watkins really didn't even have to break stride, tracking down the ball, bringing it in, and running in for a touchdown. Outside of that play, Watkins also had a few more grabs on the day and continues to impress with his ability to create separation. In a similar way, Demarcus Robinson was San Francisco's starting wide receiver today, and like previous practices, he was a quarterback favorite target. Purdy, for instance, found him for like a 15 to 20-yard throw, and he was just all over the field. Maybe San Francisco's biggest surprise at the wide receiver position group so far during this training camp though has been the wide receiver Russell Gage. Today, for instance, once again he hauled in another touchdown, and if San Francisco's wide receivers continue to struggle with injuries, it does seem likely he will make the 53-man roster, especially if he keeps making plays. I mean, he's only a couple years removed from a 700-yard season, so it's not like he doesn't have talent. Now moving into San Francisco's running backs and tight ends, probably the biggest story here today was Jordan James missing time, so it'll be interesting to see what's actually wrong with him. He was impressive during his first day of training camp, but he needs to remain healthy. Now moving into San Francisco's offensive line, probably the biggest storyline outside of the left guard position and Nick Zakelj starting there has been Colton McKivitz. So far during training camp, he's looked solid against Nick Bosa. Today, for instance, on one-on-ones, Bosa and McKivitz faced off for 3 consecutive reps. Bosa got him on the first rep with the spin move, McKivitz won the next rep, and with Bosa calling for another opportunity on the third rep, he pulled out a bull rush, and McKivitz responded pretty well. Maybe Bosa won, but it was pretty equal. While it's early so far in this offseason, this development out of McKivitz has been promising, and it'll be intriguing to see how he holds up during the regular season. And if San Francisco does think he can keep this level of production up, it probably would be smart just to extend him right now. Outside of Colton McKivitz, another intriguing offensive lineman is Drew Moss, the undrafted free agent out of Colorado State. Today, he held up against CJ West pretty nicely, and he also was able to pick up stunts, and I think he does a pretty solid job in one-on-ones. If he continues to play this way, he should put himself in competition with players like Ben Barch and Nick Zakelj for the left guard position. Speaking of San Francisco's offensive line, now we need to make our way over to San Francisco's defensive line. Specifically, we need to talk about San Francisco's rookie. Like I was mentioning, Mykel Williams wasn't on the field, which is concerning as he has been one of San Francisco's more dominant rookies. This is especially the case considering it's an ankle injury, which is the same type of injury that really hampered his Georgia season last year. With that being said, CJ West, their 4th round pick, looks like an absolute steal. He has extreme power, especially on one-on-ones, where he's able to just basically forklift whoever he's going against and walk them into the backfield. and he also has pretty violent hands and keeps him active throughout the play. Probably my favorite two moves he routinely pulls out though are his swim move and almost like a judo throw. It's a push-pull technique where he pushes the offensive lineman, gives him a little bit of force, and then with the offensive lineman pushing against that, he pulls them, takes their momentum, and finds his way into the backfield. It's also worth noting CJ West did get into the scuffle today because of his tone-setting attitude with Matt Hennessy, the center. Outside of CJ West, San Francisco's new free agent addition in Bryce Huff looks absolutely dominant. I really expect him to be extremely explosive in NASCAR packages where he's able to use his speed to get the edge on slower offensive tackles and find his way into the backfield. And so far for San Francisco, I think we've seen continued development out of his pass rush repertoire. He has a great spin move and swim move, but maybe his most underappreciated aspect of his game is how active he keeps his hands throughout the rep. When an offensive lineman goes to punch him, for instance, routinely you'll see him swipe away his hands, and then at that point he gets the edge and routinely finds his way into the backfield. Now moving back to San Francisco's linebackers, arguably the most impressive player, even including Fred Warner so far during this training camp period, has been D. Winters. Today during one-on-ones, for instance, he had a really excellent pass breakup, and he continues to fly around the field and be a true tempo setter on the defensive side of the ball. With that being said, Luke Gifford also registered an interception today on Brock Purdy, but Brock Purdy almost threw it right to him. Now moving into San Francisco's secondary, the biggest storyline here had to be Deommodore Lenoir missing practice, and Renardo Green continues to rehab his hamstring, meaning San Francisco had to turn to players like Darrell Luter Jr. And like we talked about earlier, he gave up that massive touchdown to Jordan Watkins. I think maybe if he did a better job of disrupting him earlier in the route, he would have been able to keep up with him later, but he didn't do that, which allowed him to build up his momentum and get behind the defense. As much as I like Luter as a player, he needs to be more consistent. Sometimes he'll shut down wide receivers, and other plays, they'll blow right by him. With that being said, on that play, Jason Pinnock could have also done a better job. As a safety deep in coverage, when you see a 4-3-7 wide receiver coming straight at you, you know you can't give up the deep part of the field and allow him to pass you. But Pinnock on that play allowed Watkins to get a step on him, and Watkins never looked back and scored the touchdown. With those concerns being listed of San Francisco's secondary, I am still really excited about Upton Stout. He does a great job in man coverage, staying glued to the hip pocket of the wide receiver, and he's aggressive in his run defense. But ultimately, these are just some of my thoughts on some players that really stood out during San Francisco's second padded training camp practice, and I'd like to hear your thoughts down below. Who really stood out to you if you're there? Was it a player like Bryce Huff, or maybe San Francisco's rookie Jordan Watkins? It would also mean a ton to me if you did enjoy this video to go ahead and like and subscribe, and as always, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.